It's the Jack
and Cathy
Show.
Shit Show.
And there we go.
Yeah, how was
Okay,
that?
that
Did you like
I
that
think
one?
I think it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna sing. No, Jack's making me sing. I'm too nervous. I'm not good. I can't. We heard the Steve Winwood song.
Reason I've been waiting for so long. Somebody holds. I don't even know it. It's the key.
He sings very high
So
and
down off your throne, leave your body. Somebody.
I can't.
That's it.
It's really not an easy song.
It's a very easy song.
Is it? Steve Winwood has such a great voice.
Holds the keys that high.
So
With a near the end tonight. He's really high. I can't hit that high.
yeah, I know.
But you want to know what
So-
those notes were. So you were all fired up because you were like, "What's that note?" It's that little.
Like when it just seems like a little off.
That little.
And I'm not. Yeah. What's that called?
That's
Is
just
that like a
unresolved. It's the
minor
B flat to the A.
unresolved?
No, it's the B flat to an A. It's unresolved. Your brain wants to hear. Finally, I'm back to the note.
Really? That's a great song.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that
So
just took
that's
an hour
not
of the
that's not
podcast.
I know that's not what our podcast
We should have
is
the
about
Let's
actually.
change the topic.
While we were waiting for the program to be ready, you started playing that song. We
Yeah.
heard it today at brunch.
Yeah.
Breakfast.
Why
It
don't
was
we
awesome.
have a podcast shift and all favorite songs, and I'll just play them. So tell me what else
That
you
would
really
be
like.
entertaining to us. I don't
I was
know.
playing this morning.
What?
What was I doing? I was going.
I'm not recognizing it quite yet.
I was making it up.
Oh, okay.
It was just me making shit up.
Well, I heard you playing this morning. Did you have the amp on though?
I did.
Yeah, I thought so because
yeah,
I heard
so
it like
I was doing
floors up.
this. I was going.
Okay.
No. Okay.
That was good.
We-
That was
that
good,
was
and
just-
you just make that up,
This is
just like right
dicking
now.
around.
It's so cool that you can just dick around and make something
It's
sound
so cool.
good.
Let's do a love song now.
No, let's not. Let's get on with our
Let's do a love
podcast.
song. One love song. Ready? Here we go.
Oh, here it comes. I know these lyrics are not going to be serious.
Are floating in the sky. I miss you.
Stop.
Stop poking me in the eye.
There it is.
You're such
Okay.
a mean old lady, and you're always on me. I never do it right. Okay.
You're such a mean old lady.
That was the Jack and Cathy shit show. 4 minutes in,
And
we
we're
are
out.
so sorry.
We're just
Thank
calling
you
it.
for letting us waste your day. Call in with your song requests.
Oh
we'll
my
make them up on the
gosh.
spot. That's called Cathy.
All right, so I'm going to dive right in.
We only have 25
So
minutes.
we
Pressed
we
for
have
time.
an idea of what we want to talk about today, and it's sort of it's really telling some stories about how
Hi. You
hi
say
baby
to him.
hi.
Hey. Okay, go.
It's really sharing stories of people that have really shaped who we are today, or circumstances or events that really shaped who we are today.
Mm-hmm.
And and this all in my mind, maybe it's a little different for you, but in my
Definitely
mind,
different for me. Mine was from the
yeah.
podcast I listened to.
A
So I'll tell
podcast
you mine.
listen to?
But
To me,
Yeah,
it
go
ties into, there's a link in talking to Linda again, the wonderful therapist that we have connected with because she was your therapist prior to me meeting her. And so we recently, a couple of weeks ago, our wheels fell off and we had a couple days of true disconnection that, in all honesty, and this is really hard to be this honest because I want to just be bubbly and happy all the time, and we're in a good place now, but we had a couple of days where we weren't so good, right? Yes. And but we came out of it, and we've had many, many discussions about that time of disconnection and how we both want to be better and do better. And so we decided to talk to Linda again, the therapist that you have known for many years that really helped you over the years. And we spoke about her, I don't know which podcast it was, but we went to see her once before and we spoke about it in an early podcast. And Linda, instead of wanting to see us together right away about all this, she knows you so well, so deeply, and you had an individual appointment with her. And then she said, I would love to do the same with Cathy. So my appointment with her was the other day, and obviously she doesn't know me very well. So I dove into, kind of a little bit about what makes Cathy Riley tick. And it is very interesting to hear myself talk about it to somebody else when you're trying to share, because truly at the heart of it is me wanting to understand myself better so I can show up better in the relationship and understand my reactions to these situations that come up. Because I get very fearful. I get when we fight, I get scared. When we fight, I feel extremely vulnerable. I feel like I lose my voice.
Can you just qualify one thing for me?
Yeah.
Everybody listening, you don't get scared for physical stuff.
No. Oh my gosh,
that?
no.
I don't
of
want
course.
anyone get the impression that.
Oh my gosh, no.
Okay.
Of course, no. I appreciate you saying that because I can imagine that people.
What is he doing to you?
I think right. No, God, no, nothing
Okay.
like that. I think it's just my childhood self wanting to just make sure everything is right all the time. And then I always make the right decision, and then I'm not rocking the boat ever, and that I just do and say things that are right. And little do I know, sometimes I'm disconnecting to myself in those ways. So I shared with you, it's not a new story, you've heard this story before, but I was sharing with Linda, who doesn't know me, who is trying to get to know me. I said, deep part of my psyche, Linda, is the following story. And it's really a vulnerable thing to share. It makes me kind of well up a little bit,
I'm gonna play music so it distracts you.
Yeah. So I will share it here now because, I don't know, that's the podcast, sort of sharing our vulnerable underbelly to all of this.
Well, you share what you feel comfortable sharing, right?
And the story is that when I was in second grade, I started sweating profusely from my hands and my feet. It's called hyperhidrosis. And not to go into all the situations of my entire life that have been, have shaped me because of that condition, but it truly, truly made me mentally obsessed with staying in front of it and hiding it and making sure nobody found me out. And I mean, my hands and feet would literally drip, 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 drip. And my feet, I could soak through tennis shoes and leather shoes. And it just, I had to, going to a Catholic grade school and wearing these polyester uniforms that didn't absorb sweat. I had to strategize, like, what am I going to wipe my hands on when they start to sweat when I'm at school? I don't have these clothes. I would soak my clothes because I would just wipe my sweaty hands on them all day. My pants would be, the thighs of my pants would be wet all
And
day.
back then, girls didn't wear leggings under clothes?
No, sometimes in the winter we wore those thick wide well corduroy pants, so that was really great. But in the summer when things are hot, I didn't know what to wipe my hands
There were no
on.
Spanx back then.
And I remember writing my papers in school. You know, I would have to take sheets of loose leaf paper and fold them up and place them under the edge of my hand where it was try to get the sweat and just have the tip of the pencil off the edge of the paper because you can't write with a pencil on wet paper. And so that just, I'll try not to go on too long, but just to give you a glimpse of my psyche and my whole world. I almost have no other childhood memories. That's not completely accurate, but it was such a focus of my psyche to hide and go inward and maneuver. Like everywhere I went, everything I did, every situation was thinking about, how am I going to hide my sweat? Is that going to be a situation that prompts anxiety and nerves and put me into this fearful state? And so that stayed with me pretty much my entire life. And fast forward to, I'll try to make this story shorter, but fast forward to high school, when I finally came to my parents and said, you know, this is tough on me. And we had tried biofeedback where I got hooked up to little things and would try to control my anxiety with, you know, the power of thought, which was a cool concept, but it wasn't a quick fix and it wasn't a surefire fix for me, because the sweating can be prompted by just heat. Let alone, I mean, anxiety and nerves for sure, but just if it's hot out, I'm going to sweat, and this is what my body does. So in high school, before the summer before junior year of high school, I had a surgery where they go in under the armpits and they clip the nerves that control the sweat to the hands and the feet. And it's just ironic. It was successful to a degree because my hands don't really sweat too much anymore, and neither does my face and my armpits because that's all the same thing. But now the rest of my body has said, oh, well, I just got to dial everything else up on my body from basically the armpits down because I need another channel. Your body still produces that same amount of sweat. Anyway, it's something that I shared with Linda and how I have, in my mind, maybe she would tell me differently, in my mind it has given me, good or bad, and it has given me an incredible tolerance for discomfort, an incredible tolerance, because that's like a natural state to me, to always be uncomfortable. And every modeling job I had, it's just ironic, I even got into that industry where I then put myself in that situation in front of an audience.
Thick clothes in the summer, hot lights.
Oh my gosh, yeah, black fur
And
coats on
everyone
Michigan
looking at
Avenue
you.
in the sunshine. You know, it's like, oh my
And
gosh.
everyone's staring at you.
And everyone's staring at me, and it was just its own form of torture. I felt very lucky to do the job, and I think I was pretty good at it, and did it for 40 years. And so there's a huge part of me that is so relieved to not be in that industry anymore because it was so stressful for me. Of course, I still miss it. It's like, you know, it's the dialectic, right? But it was just me sharing that story with Linda to try to better understand myself and how I react to you when we have situations that we're not aligning with each other. And that led, in my mind, to part of our conversation with understanding why we're wired how we are. And it was really a profound thing to share with Linda, and it's a very vulnerable thing to share with somebody. But I think it's very much a part of my personal healing process and wanting to be better in this relationship with you and understanding why I react the way I do. Not that that's everything, but I think it's a big part of it. And I have to recognize that I need to manage my stress and anxiety in a different way instead of internalizing it. Because one of the things that happens now is I get migraines. And that's all me. There could be external circumstances, but really it's me and how I am handling that stress. Mm-hmm. I definitely want to be better in this relationship, my best version of myself for you and for us,
Well, and for yourself.
but mostly just for myself. Yeah.
'Cause
And
I'm not,
my
I'm not
my
the only
health.
one you have a relationship with.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No
I mean,
doubt.
you have a relationship with yourself.
No
you
doubt,
have one with
yeah.
family and friends and prospective new clients, and
Yeah.
we don't know what in the future. So
Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about how that really, all the moments that were stressful and that.
go on and on. It's our podcast,
No,
your day. Why?
No, that's all right. It's, well.
Just keep talking, baby. I've talked a lifetime on this podcast already, so you
Yeah.
keep going.
I think of so many moments. Like, I used to play the flute. It's going to make me so emotional.
It's okay.
I started playing the flute in 4th grade, and
You're safe with me.
part of
You
me
know that, right?
loved it, but part of me hated it, because if I had to play the flute in front of other people, all I can remember, I don't know how I played a song or a note or anything, because all I could imagine is how the sweat bead was starting on my hand and
working its way.
rolling. If anybody's watching YouTube of this, you can see me demonstrate. All my singular focus was the sweat beads that were forming on my hands, coming down here, and I could feel them tracking down my arm, down my elbow, dripping onto the floor. And as soon
While you
as
were
while I was playing, that's all I thought about. I don't even know how I played a single fucking note, because then the moment the song was over, I'd look down at how big that puddle was on the floor and hoping nobody noticed, and I would take my foot and I would rub it and try to make it go away before I just went and sat down and I was done with it was a competition. It was like fruit
And how old were you?
competitions.
Grammar school.
Yeah, I was grade school.
And you're not.
Yeah.
There are certainly people that might have noticed it, but you're not at that age. You think everybody's looking at you.
Oh my God!
You
Yeah.
think
Of
everyone's
course.
staring at you.
Well,
and
especially when you're up there performing your fruit solo and all the parents are in the
Fruit
audience.
solo?
Fruit solo, flute solo. You're, competing.
You think that that's what they're listening to and seeing.
And they're just they truly are all staring at you.
Yeah.
And again, and then I get into modeling where everybody is staring at me, and there's a huge part of me that is really, really good in those situations.
What if I just figured it out?
What?
I shouldn't stare at you. Is that it?
No, I want you staring at me.
Oh.
But
Well, there goes that answer.
it's a vulnerability in me that I'm trying to understand, and most importantly, I think, is me starting to recognize those stressful situations and giving them an outlet in other ways, or mentally going through this process of how I'm going to process it differently, like taking a deep breath, and I worry so much about how the other person is perceiving me. And all I want to do is make the stress stop. I got to make it stop. Got to make it stop. Got to make it stop. And that kind of can make me not address a situation really well. And I think that was part of how I reacted when we had our recent disagreement, an argument. And we all have that, right? There's a reason we are wired how we are wired. It can be our upbringing, our just an event that happened, or somebody, good and bad, right? And that just happened to be something that I still carry with me to a degree. So I think it's really good to pay attention to that stuff.
Did Linda bring any insights to this discussion? Do you want to share any of that or not really?
Well, she had a real aha when I shared that story, and she didn't dwell on it too much, but just my need to please, just to make the anxiety go away faster. I need to make it go away because I don't process that anxiety well. And just sort of me learning how to take back that control for myself. And I really think that moving forward, when you and I have a disagreement in that way, where you can feel the tension building and boiling up, that we make a promise to each other or make a sincere effort to just push the pause button and give it a minute, give it an overnight, and come back when we've both sort of let things settle. Because when I get caught up in that anxiety, I don't think straight. I don't think quickly. I don't think, maybe I don't think rationally. It's very hard for me to see your perspective, because all I can think about is, I don't know, trying to explain how I couldn't have possibly hurt you, because that's almost just too much for me to bear. So, yeah. So there you go. There's a little nugget. There's a little Cathy Riley nugget that has shaped who I am. And I've talked to my kids about this too. I don't know if it has the same, I don't think well, now they're both, more mature adults. I'm sure they would have a different perspective on it now than when I first shared all those moments.
If they even listen to this point.
Yeah. Probably not. But it prompted you, or something in there prompted you to have the thoughts about the people that have influenced you in your life and the situations that have made a huge mark in who you are today.
Mine is much different. Yours was, it's really interesting. I mean, it's related because it's influence, but yours, if I'm hearing this correctly. So when we first talked about this in the car as a podcast topic, I was listening to another podcast where one of the guys who hosts it was talking about all the influences on his life and the pivot points that from the age, 3rd grade this and 5th grade that and 10th grade this.
Scott Galloway.
Yeah. So he's just, so was Kara, Swisher, we're talking about these moments where had they gone left instead of right, or had this person not been there, they may be a different person. And so I was more inclined to just talk about how it shaped less my beliefs and reactions to circumstances, just more my life, which I know is related. I'm just very fascinated to find out now. So my intention was, I thought we were going to sit down and talk about, when I was in 2nd grade, I had this really cool teacher that taught me to be a really good writer, and that kind of nurtured my love for writing. Or when I was in 8th grade, I had a basketball coach. I thought that's where we were going. And so it's really interesting that where you're going with this is that there were personal life events, not necessarily external influences that helped shape you, but personal experiences in life that shaped you. Not that either one is right or wrong. I'm not going down that path. I think mine was shockingly lighter surface area than yours.
Yeah,
yours
and
way
I think
deep into the pool, which is fine.
If I can add,
Go ahead.
I think my brain goes to that in my experience because it really superseded all other events and moments in my life. Like, that's how focused I was. I almost feel like I missed some of those positive influences because I was so consumed. Like, when I say I was consumed by it every day, all day, I'm not joking.
Can I?
And I think it just kind of took over so much a part of my
I
life.
do think, hearing you talk now, and given all my years of therapy and my master's and PhD in those subjects,
well, don't forget all the self-help books you've read.
Written.
And
with all the blog
self-help
posts and
podcasts and blog posts. And
are you okay that we keep talking? I mean, this is our podcast
for
to
sure.
do however we want to do it.
I scratched at that surface, so let her rip.
So I do think this is a part 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't have to be sequential, by the way. We can do it. We can pursue this. I won't forget.
Well, I think it's probably a topic that would have endless layers.
for sure.
As we go, right?
It's interesting to come back to this because we're going to continue to tie some of this together. We're going to continue to talk to Linda, not because I don't know why I feel like I have to make sure that people don't think we're sitting here throwing things at one another. It's just we have moments of disconnection that are pretty profound, and there's reasons for that, that we're both trying to figure out because we find this relationship so valuable, correct? I said that right? So view this as, hey, and I'm not trying to trivialize it. I'm really not. Hey, I am overweight, and I'm not happy with myself, so we're hiring a dietitian and someone with exercise fitness to kind of help us figure that out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with.
You're saying as an example, like it's.
Yeah, we're not doing it because
similar to that.
Yeah, we're trying to get better.
Analogous to that.
I've said this to you before, and it's not often received. I've not often say it well. I shouldn't say received well. I don't often say it well, and I hope my intent is correct. It's just I could hear how this isn't easy to hear. Therapy is going to do three things. It's going to decide for us if we're really right for one another. It's going to improve our relationship if that's the case. Because if we start going and we realize, oh fuck, we think we're really good for one another, but we're really not. That's a potential outcome, right?
That'd be crazy.
Well, but it's a potential outcome, right? So possible, I go into when I went into therapy, without spending too much time on this, it was with the understanding of if I don't take this seriously, if she gives me something to read, fucking read it, right? If she asks me to try something with relationships, yeah, fucking try it, and then respond back to how that works. I don't give a shit if you're hitting a baseball or playing golf or trying to fix your brain and how you react to things. If you don't take the advice from a mentor who's experienced in solving those types of things, you want to hit the ball better on a golf tee, go to a fucking teacher that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me, for our listeners to hear that we like this relationship so much that when we do have these moments of disconnection, we're both going, what the fuck is going on that this happens? And there's clearly something in our past, our histories, that are generating our responses to things.
Yeah, that
right?
is triggered by each other in those moments.
We're not reacting as best as we can. And so it's funny because I wanted this podcast to truly talk about, Mrs. Smith and Joe Johnson and all these other people.
That great teacher that made you love writing.
So I think it's cool that you want to go down. And I don't want to talk. I know I've talked a lot now in the last 2 minutes. I want to let you know that I do think it's an issue for you. Because since we started dating, one of the first times I put my hand on the small of your back, and I'm not talking about like some sexual thing, just like reaching behind you, there was sweat there, and you instantly started talking about your sweat. Like we were on date 2, and you're talking about I used to sweat a lot, I had the surgery done, and man, you went long.
It's hard for me to be touched.
You went a long time talking about it, and then what's funny is that when this is not a salacious discussion. When we're just holding hands sometimes or we're going places and I can tell you're liking our closeness, you'll sweat a little bit, right? So your body reacts to it all the time for some reason. And I've told you what?
Yeah, you think it's hot.
I think it's hot. I think it's really kind of cool.
Doesn't bother you. And I have to trust in what you tell me. Because when I sweat, my brain immediately goes,
he's disgusted.
Ew.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm disgusted by myself.
I think it's just your emotion. Ew. It's the way your body manifests an emotion. I don't know that you can change it. You just might have a gland that hyper reacts to things.
Hyperhidrosis.
However, yeah.
That's what it's called.
Where I'm going with this is that it is an issue, though, because you've talked about it now in the podcast. You went 21 straight minutes, which is not like you. You talk about it often between the two of us.
Yeah.
However, you have said, I think I've found my person because I'm not affected by it at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze me.
And I don't find myself I find myself more relaxed with you, so I don't have that as many like anxiety triggers in my connection with you.
But it does bring up a better point that I'm happy you're addressing with Linda for your own benefit. If it helps you and you decide, wow, I really like myself better, see ya, Jack. I got well, right. These are the potential outcomes of all these things, right? We grow and we change,
between the two
and so I'm supportive of your personal growth. I don't know what causes that sensitivity in you when we have discussions about things, because it happens fast, right? There's a defensiveness or sensitivity that can happen quickly. This is the first time I've heard you tell the story about the flute.
About what?
The flute. You've never told me. You've never told me that story. And so I'm going to start to cry now, because I can't imagine being a 10-year-old, second grade, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, and you just want to play music, and you can't even play music because you're so worried that someone's going to see a drop that probably no one sees.
Nobody knew. I never.
But it's such a foundation, and the reason I say it still shows up with you and me. I mean, it's foundational that we'll go someplace and you're like, I'm beginning to sweat. And then what goes through my mind right away is, fuck, here comes the migraine.
Yeah.
Because your brain now is going on hyper alert of this is happening. And it's almost like your brain is telling yourself, this is going to happen. Then that's going to, it just becomes this, sorry for the cliche, that snowball. And then it's like, how do we fucking stop that ball from falling and getting so big that now it's out of control?
Well, we can't do that. I mean, I guess maybe as a partner, just somebody that I'm with, you could probably make choices that didn't antagonize that further. But really, ultimately, it's up to me.
Well, I'm never going to be great at that, right? Like last night, well, but because I'm not going to know.
If you could just keep trying. Though.
Right. I'm not going to know that that's instantly going to be something that starts this, that starts all this stuff downhill.
Right. And that's where I have to then verbalize, like if I feel my anxiety rising, I have to say, hey, I recognize, I don't know what the words are, but maybe, hey, babe, I feel my anxiety rising right now. Could we talk about this a little later?
That's brilliant. I love it. Like, talk to Lynn and see what she says. I love that.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Last night we were at that concert, and it was all super loud type punk rock music from all those bands, right?
Yeah.
And what did I tell you this morning? The moment we walked into that place, it was loud. There were fluorescent lights. We didn't really know anybody, which is not but there were a whole bunch of circumstances where I went.
We knew some people, but.
Yeah, but my point is, there were circumstances that in the past, or at least I've seen with you, if there's just a little bit of tension and then there's something that pushes that tension farther, that the migraine can come, a whole bunch of other things can happen. And I have to admit, I told you already, right? But for the listeners, I was on hyper fucking alert. Like, all right, just be really calm, just relax. Something comes up. Hey, someone knocks a beer over in your face. It's all good, brother. And then you were coming close to me, and when I'm at those places, I'm not often that's the one moment I'm kind of not very touchy-feely in those concerts. You ever notice that? Like, I'm so dialed into what the musicians are doing.
Yes, music is.
That I kind of, so you were leaning into me quite a bit, and I went, all right, arms around her, soft kisses. Hey, is the music too loud? Do you want to go step outside for a sec? Right?
Yeah.
Because I've experienced the snowball. And so if you can, and this is not you've got to work on this, Cathy. That's not how I intend this. If you feel those things generating and you can also dial them back down, right? There's that, if you can feel that generating and go, all right, hey, let's get out of here because I'm getting a headache. I'm not, or I'm uncomfortable,
or
whatever it is.
Or I need to hit pause on this conversation.
Yeah, pause on this conversation, because it's a little bit, you did that recently though when we were talking about something else. You're like, hey, can we just not talk about that right now? And I went, all right.
Yep.
And
here's the thing is, I worry that you're going to feel dismissed. Like if you're in the height of some expression about you, but yet it's bringing the effect on me, or the effect the reaction I'm choosing is anxiety. I worry that I don't want you always to feel shut down by my anxiety moments, you know? I don't want to be like, hey, Jack, we're going to have to hit pause on your feelings right now. Or your thoughts right now.
Yeah, but see, I've often said to you.
Because I worry, again, I worry about
I know.
you.
I've often said to you, I feel that for you, it's left or right. And this is going to be ironic because my mother always says that I've got to work better at shades of gray. You are, compared to me sometimes, I think, very black and white. So your thought that, and I appreciate what you're saying right now. Your thought that, hey, this is a little flooding for me, or this is a little heavy, or I'm in a place where I could really want to have this conversation. The thought that you have is, oh, fuck, now I've just taken him off the rails, and he's going to be upset and not feel heard. there's so many ways to say that. And first of all, I don't want you to feel that way. If you're saying, hey, this is a little bit heavy for me. You did it the other day when we were walking into Costco.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking about stuff and I was getting fired up, which I can do.
Yep.
And then you said, hey, can we just not talk about this right now? And all you have to say is, for me at least, I know you want to talk about this. Right now I'm not feeling, can we come back to it because I don't want you to feel dismissed.
Yeah.
Done. I don't want you to know that that's how I react. So I don't want you to feel, oh, fuck, now he's going to have this big slew of reactions, number one. And number two, it's up to me to then say to you, hey, can we come back to this at some point? Because I do feel a little dismissed right now. But I recognize it's also heavy because I'll talk like that. So I think that's where I guess where I'd like you to feel more comfortable is not, it's making more sense now when you talk about the flute because you're so consumed with it that you can't think that there's any other possible solutions. That the only solution is everyone sees me and I'm being ostracized and look at me and I'm so embarrassed, as opposed to there isn't even a middle ground of, all right, I may be sweating a little bit, but all right, it's not that much. No one's noticing. Play your part, right? And so I recognize that now more I never heard that story before. I don't know if I'm making sense to you, but I recognize in our conversations if that flooding comes on, that's like the sweat pouring off your elbow.
It is.
Like you can feel the conversation dripping down the arm, and you're concerned that it's just going to pool up with water. And I think with me, you have to believe that if you said, hey, can we just chill out for a second? Instantly the water stops. Could you imagine in your brain right now, I really mean this, can you visualize that the moment you say something like that, the water stops? Because you've got a partner, and I'm not trying to be arrogant toward myself. The moment you say things, I think even Linda said how do I respond? The moment you go, can you stop?
Yeah.
Right? Don't I more often than not go, okay. The only thing I may ask is...
You do. More often than not, may I add to a thought there? That you are such a quick thinker that sometimes you come up with, you go into solution mode.
Agreed.
And...
I'm doing that right now.
That isn't always
the best thing for you.
The best thing in that moment.
Yep.
Because for some reason that puts pressure on me to. I just need to. It's almost physically, emotionally, mentally stepping back away from it for a moment. Like I'm in a room with that conversation and I need to leave the room and close the door for a minute.
Yeah.
And calm myself down, and then I can enter the room again with a different...
Say that to me, and I promise you right now, I'll hear it.
Yeah. Maybe we create a code where I go, I need to leave the room right now.
Well, just say I
need to leave the conversation.
But I'm okay if you say, this is really weighing on me. Where I get, where it's challenging for me sometimes is that I don't want to just be left for days.
I agree.
So agree to... I just didn't realize... is the bottom line. I knew the sweating thing was profound because I heard it within 2 days, our second date. So I knew it was profound, and I've experienced its profoundness since in the 2+ years we've been together. It still comes up, right? We'll be places and you'll say, the wedding, right? Jenny's daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I'm starting to sweat a lot because we were outside and it was hot as fuck.
And I start to get panicky.
And then I could feel the migraine coming. Well, you started to say that. You said, I remember I was like, do you want me to go to the car and get the umbrella? And in the future, it's funny, I should just get the fucking umbrella. Or my brain goes to, want to hear how bad I am? I go, fuck, why didn't you think of the umbrella? I should have thought about that. But I remember that wedding, and then fortunately the weather turned, clouds came in,
and the breeze came in. I'm like, well, we might get rained on. We might get rained on, but Cathy's not about to sweat and have a migraine anymore.
But we sat in the back.
I cooled off.
Well, even when we were at lunch with, or we were at talking to the prospective, our friends, I don't want to call them clients only, but Alex and her husband Andrew, we were sitting in a place that was right in direct sunlight.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, I don't know if she's going to last here.
Yeah.
And what was interesting to me, see if you can feel this, see if I'm getting you correctly. I'm sitting there going, why isn't she saying let's move? Because it was just the two of us. You would say, do you guys mind moving in the shade? Were you reluctant to say something to them for fear that they would?
Yeah, I did. I did process for a minute the bright light, which in the past can be a trigger. But I also recognize that it's anxiety combined with the bright light, or anxiety paired with a computer screen, or anxiety that comes from a conversation. It really, so much of that is about how I'm
processing the moment,
managing a potential stressful situation, and in that situation, I think I was just so comfortable with them, that it didn't feel.
Because the irony is, I was the one that had to get up and go, I can't, because you and I both don't, we like sun, but we don't like being in direct sunlight all the time.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I thought it was ironic that I was the one who was like, I can't fucking handle this. And I went to the car to get a hat, remember?
Yes. So
absolutely. I just, I find it, I'm really encouraged that this is something you're identifying more. And did you tell her the flute story too? Or is that new?
I can't remember, actually.
Man, I share that one with her, because you have just had a profound effect on me for the rest of the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I hate to do this to us, but we have to go pick up Al and Sam.
Okay.
So can we call this part 1?
Yes, we'll call this part 1.
Do you, because this is really different from what I wanted to do, which is okay.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about more of this stuff with you? Because I'm learning.
No, of course we can.
Because I'm learning more about you right here. Believe it or not, these are stories I haven't heard.
This is the vulnerable underbelly.
That's not easy for you.
It's not easy, and it's really, you worry about, once you reveal all that, will that other person still like you?
Oh, baby, stop it.
No, it's not.
I get that you feel that way.
It doesn't have to be logical,
it doesn't have to be
that part
logical.
of your psyche.
I get it.
I get it that
Babe,
it's not. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
I said you the moment you started sweating. I thought it was fucking hot. And you're like, I found my person.
I found my person who thinks my sweat is hot.
It's because it's who you are. I don't give a shit. I like the fact that you're. One of the challenges that we have in this relationship is that vulnerability thing is not always easy or easily accessed for you.
No.
So the fact that you're coming to the deep end of the pool like this, I'll be here however you need me. You want me to shut the fuck up? Yeah. Shut up. You want me to listen more? I'll listen. I think this is fascinating for me. And believe it or not, you telling these stories is amazing. I hear things differently. Like you said something to me the other day. I can't believe I said we got to go and now I'm rambling. You said how you said on our last podcast, the power that I have. And I went, I don't like that word.
Yeah.
But you also said it very kindly at the event or whatever it was where we were. You're like, you have this way of just touching me sometimes and it just calms me down no matter where I am. And I'm not even aware that I'm doing it. Right. So I don't like that responsibility. How's that? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
I draw strength from you in a really good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to draw strength from you, because that's what what I admire about you.
That's important. Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And remind me when we pick this up again.
Part
deux is that this. I don't mean to. I want. To me, it's very similar to having a handicap. I don't want to equate it to a real handicap, like missing an arm or being blind or having having some physical, mental, emotional something challenge. I don't mean to minimize any of that, but in my mind, it was like trying to manage a handicap in life and how every moment is consuming as you go into the world and manage this handicap. But I also saw gifts in it as well. And we'll maybe pick up on that. And now your son is calling. So that's probably a good time to...
let's bolt.
Yeah, let's bolt.
I do want a part 2.
Okay.
So however we want to bring part 2 in, this has been fascinating for me.
Yeah.
I really mean it. I love looking at you right now.
Thanks, babe.
I know this is not easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
I am fascinated by this story. It has brought a different sense of awareness and sensitivity for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to feel that and know that. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this podcast for this fucking reason right here.
Thanks, babe.
And if this is the way we connect is through this podcast because we love this so much, then let's just keep rolling.
Yeah, if this is for nobody else but ourselves,
you rock, babe.
That's it. You too, babe. Okay.
Ready? Peace. Jack and Cathy Shit Show outro take 652.
Start off laughing. You just listened to another episode of the Jack and Cathy Shit Show.
Our senior producers are me.
Hey, and me.
This episode was produced, engineered, and mixed by
the amazing Key Honar.
Email your questions, comments, or interesting relationship stories to jackandcathyshitshow@gmail.com. That is Cathy with a C.
Be sure to follow and like our marvelous shit show on Instagram and TikTok at Jack and Cathy Shit Show. Apparently liking and following is a thing.
It is?
Yeah.
This episode was produced by Pint Productions 2022. Point!